James Mennie from the Montreal Gazette joins me now. James, there's a lot been going on. The premiers have all returned back to their respective provinces, and they all seem very happy with what's gone on in Saskatoon yesterday.
Well, and I heard you talking to Carlton Prale before, and I'll tell you straight up, it's going to be very, very interesting. And as he pointed out quite rightly, the bottom line now is for Carney to produce. It's great to talk. Canadians and politicians have had a decade of getting a lot of talk out of the Prime Minister of Canada, and it's going to be fun to see if this is actually backed up with, how can I put it, a little bit of action. But I got to tell you, Matt, while all this is going on, while all eyes were focused on Saskatoon, and that's not a sentence I get to say on a regular basis, while all eyes were focused on Saskatoon, our federal government, in the person of Public Security Minister Gary Ananda Sangri, was introducing a bill which at first glance is, it's reaction to Donald Trump's maunderings about how unsafe and how porous our border is, and we'll be paying more attention to transactions of over $10,000, which is already sort of par for the course in most banks, in an effort to fight money laundering, and we'll be allowing Canada Post to open in certain cases to open people's mail, which I thought was rather intriguing. But what's sort of hidden is, and I'll be the first to admit that right now, because it has just been announced today, I have no idea what this means, but the bill will apparently, quote, strengthen authorities to cancel, suspend, or change immigration documents, and to cancel, suspend, or stop accepting new applications, which to me suggests, we're trying to wade my way through this kind of bureaucratic bafflegap. I think I just heard a door slam, Matt. I think I heard the door that was opened way back when Donald Trump was first elected and Justin Trudeau fired off his now infamous tweet about how Canada was open to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, come to Canada, everything's cool. And, since then there's been a lot of debate over that and a lot of recrimination. I'm really wondering if with this bill, which ostensibly is aimed at securing the border, whether Mark Carney has given himself, how can I put it, a kind of an emergency measure that will allow him to be able to answer some of the concerns expressed by provincial governments, most specifically by Quebec, over the level of immigration coming into this country and our ability to deal with it. I may be wrong. This may be a straightforward public security bill, but I'm really getting the impression when you see the Coast Guard, immigration, and Canada Post mixed up in one bill, I think you should be careful, and I think you should expect some surprises down the road.
Yeah, and this comes, just as we saw this morning, some reporting about how May was one of the busiest months in a very long time since Roxham Road closed for asylum claims here in Quebec.
Yeah, and it's really, and of course, because the Mad King south of the border, and we just learned now again, but he's apparently going to follow through on it, Matt, that he's going to double steel and aluminum tariffs, which of course is another curveball to the ending, the really sort of high note ending of the meeting with the premiers is that Trump finds new ways to make himself a nuisance and new ways to introduce uncertainty into our economic future. So a lot of pressure on Carney, I think, but also I think a lot of pressure on the premiers as well. I mean, a lot of people, and I would specifically say Francois Legault, but I don't think he's alone. But premiers have always tried to play both sides of it. On the one hand, I'm going to be a tough guy and I'm going to look after my province's interests. But on the other, when push comes to shove, they kind of break down in tears and say, we need more money. Ottawa's not giving us enough money. I don't think you can have it both ways. I think you have to be a part of the game. And this may be very, very difficult for Francois Legault to undertake. But down the road, both sides who attended this meeting are going to have to ante up and show us what they've got. And they're very likely going to have to do it sooner rather than later. And when I say sooner, certainly by Labor Day, we should have a much clearer picture of which way or what measures we'll be taking to engage in these so-called nation-building infrastructure projects, specifically our energy corridor, which up until now has been hitting a lot of brick walls, especially in Quebec.
All right, switching gears here very quickly as we sort of head towards the end of this segment, but are we witnessing the final days of Quebec Solidaire?
It sure sounds like it. I mean, usually, Eric James, head of the Quebec Conservative Party, as far as I'm concerned, is kind of a political canary in the coal mine. When he starts making noises about, if members of your caucus are interested in joining the Conservatives, we're more than happy to bring them on. And he did this yesterday, and I found it interesting that the Conservative is talking to apparently the disgruntled members of a very left of center sovereignist party. But all that said, it looks like, honestly, Quebec Solidaire, which began, I guess, as a good idea all those many years ago, seems to have lost its way. It's polling like 10%. I would not bet money on it still being around after the next election. And then we had the latest incident where we saw Nadia Poirier, who was the Solidaire candidate in the Terrebonne by-election. She already publicly complained how basically she said her party threw her under a bus during the campaign. There was no support. And she came in like ridiculous. I think she got like 4 point something of the vote in the by-election. But now she's defected to the PQ, which, quite frankly, it does not exactly cover Quebec Solidaire in glory. Quebec Solidaire, which is better known, I think, as an opposition party for arguing amongst itself rather than arguing with the government. So the whole allure of the left of center parties, be they Quebec Solidaire, and indeed the NDP, seems to be shining a bit more dimly these days. And I'm not entirely sure, certainly for Quebec Solidaire, and given the absence of some key players who were there at the beginning, whether that party is still going to be around.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Demain.
Talk to you tomorrow. That's James Mennie with the Montreal Gazette.